Here now, trial attorney and legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, what a tragic and scary case, given it appears this was all random.
Absolutely a horrific case, Marni. And today the arraignment will take place. This is what's called a murder with special circumstances case. And that means that there are special circumstances because there's multiple deaths, there's the use of a firearm, there's also a burglary charge. All of those charges Budarian will face today. And ultimately, this would be a case that is death penalty eligible in California. California has a moratorium on the death penalty, but the murder with special circumstances would elevate it to the point where it's a possibility for prosecutors to seek it.
Is today the day that he would make some sort of plea, or has he done that already?
Yes. So at the arraignment, the charges will be formally read. He will put in a plea, and the next step will be to discuss bail or bond, which is not going to be a factor in this case. He's going to be held without bail. But Marni, there is a glaring issue in this case that is likely to come up at the arraignment, if not soon after. And that's a history of mental health issues. He's had 3 prior arrests in 2023 and 2024, which were ultimately dismissed because of what's called legal competency. And legal competency is different than insanity. We've all heard of raising the insanity defense in response to a charge. It's a defense raised at trial, looking back to the time of the crime. But competency is different. It looks at the mental state of the defendant now. And the question is, do they understand the charges against them, and can they participate in their own defense? I would imagine that the defense attorney or the judge, given that history of mental health issues, would ask for an independent evaluation regarding whether or not he is competent to stand trial. I think that's going to be a threshold issue here about how this case proceeds.
So if he's deemed competent, then does that is the death penalty issue less sticky?
So if he's deemed competent, the death penalty issue will still be potentially problematic. There's a Supreme Court case that says somebody with diminished mental capacity cannot be subject to the death penalty. So the charges are death penalty eligible, but he, depending on whether or not there truly are mental health issues that are identified, may still have a defense to say that the death penalty cannot be applied in this case because it's unconstitutional. That's different from the competency issue. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts in this case, because competency merely means that you understand the charges against you, can participate in your own defense. Whether or not there are other mental health issues that could preclude the death penalty remains to be seen. But I expect these mental health issues to be central to this case in one way or the other, whether it's competency, whether it relates to the defense against the charges to say that he was incapable of formulating intent, or whether or not it relates to arguments to seek the death penalty. There is a moratorium on the death penalty in California, as we said before, so it may not behoove prosecutors to go that route, but those are all things to look for in this case as it proceeds.
And finally, Misty, the pursuit of a motive, how critical will that be in this case?
So prosecutors are not required to show motive in order to secure a conviction. In a case where you have such a tremendous amount of evidence that is pretty objective, right? We've got the video, we've got the 911 call. It may not be relevant to prosecutors to show that there was any motivation or to prove any motive regarding the case. It could become relevant to the defense, I think, from the perspective of that formulating of intent. It could be mental health issues. It could be drug use. Voluntary use of drugs and voluntary intoxication is not an affirmative defense, meaning it doesn't alleviate accountability, but it can be an argument relating to the ability of the defendant to formulate the requisite intent under the statute. So this seems like a very cut and dry case, but I expect, Marni, there to be a lot of twists and turns when it comes to this trial.
Yeah, well, so much at stake for justice for the family and the friends of this couple, Robin Kay and Thomas DeLuca, who both had decorated careers and a lot of success. What a tragedy. Misty, thank you, as always.